Hey guys, I'm out here, and guess what? Guess what happened? I got it. We're building it, baby. We're putting this mofo together. Not gonna cook it tonight. I don't know if I'm gonna get to do it this weekend. I was thinking Thursday, but sadly, I think it's gonna rain, and if it does, I'll probably have to postpone till next week. But next day I have freedom. I've got my chimney. Somebody told me to get, so I got that, and um, I got some Kingsfords, got some Kingsford briquettes. Gonna do it up. First, though, we gotta put it together. That's the first thing we have to do. All right, so we gotta find the little doohickeys we gotta put on these things. I like to think that charcoal is still made by secretive artisans who go out into the forest and chop down trees and burn them into coals, secretly plotting to overthrow the kingdom of the two Sicilies. Anybody get that reference? If anybody gets that reference, congratulations to you. You win the Dennis Miller tote bag. Alright, guys. Here we go. Brain like Wojak. Oh, I don't know if that's good or not. Is he stupid? He could also be very smart, though, right? Wojak? Or is Wojak always dumb? Because the thing is that, like, so there's the brainlet Wojak where Wojak's stupid, and that's considered earnest, right? That's sort of considered to be him. I always think of the brainy Wojaks as sarcastic. The brainy Wojak, there's are never earnest. You never earnestly employ the brainy Wojak, but you do employ only earnestly the dummy brainlet Wojak, making me think that Wojak is inherently dumb. No, this is not going to take that long. It's. I looked at the directions. It's actually pretty straightforward and not that complicated. I mean, look what I just did. Boom. I did first step. Already done. Already done. Look how good I am. One of the things that motivated me to actually, I got this thing over the weekend, and what really motivated me today to build it, I was kind of like, do I really want to do it? I don't know if I'm going to have time to grill even before next week. It was seeing the discourse today by being a fool that I am, and I don't know, I mean, I kind of have the excuse that it's part of my livelihood, hilariously enough, but going online and seeing that we're having the same arguments, exactly the same arguments, that everyone was having before Bernie. And then nothing has changed at all. Not even none. You could change. You could just repost all your old posts, and the same people would reply with the same posts. Why? Why would you do that? What? You can't be because you think it's going to change anything. The fact that you're still doing it proves you know nothing will change. So why are you doing it? You need to ask yourself that question. Well, I put these guys in these guys. These directions are very helpful. They tell you how to do it and then how not to do it. And that's actually good for people like me. I tend to have bad instincts with putting things together, and I end up going like, no, this is right, and then no, it's a disaster. There we go. Okay, you got to do them all first. All right. Life does come with an instruction manual. It's true. All right, I got the arms. I got the arms ready. Now I got to do the other thing. I gotta put them on. Please don't yell at me. Just because I don't know how to buy grills. Weber is a name that I trust. It's synonymous with quality, okay, buddy? Don't go judging my grill purchases. I shall not judge your choices in life either. People need to remember I'm a grill novice. I've been to many a grill, but I've never been the grill master. Because I'm a late capitalist baby man. And as a result, I had an arrested development. Now I'm trying to correct it by reclaiming my male heritage. That's right. Me and Bronze Age Pervert are gonna get a podcast together. That's irony, in case anyone was wondering. Oh shoot! Did I do it wrong? No, I did it right. Everyone always talks about the big green egg too. That thing seems way too fancy. It does too much stuff. Well, it's just I don't need to do everything. Just give me something to grill things in. I'm gonna do it. Yes, it's the Max Weber grill. One of my favorite nerd tweets I did. The Max Weber grill for the slow cooking of hard meats. I do want to do corn, but sadly my grocery store does not have corn. Okay, I think this is working. I need corn. This is New York. It's a corn desert. I know if I were to go home, there'd be corn everywhere. But sadly, here in the city, no. They've got jicama. I would do maybe baked potatoes, right? Put potatoes in the foil. Fish would be really nice. I used to do that when I was a kid. Fish in the foil with the lemon. Very good. All right, next. What do we do after we snap these puppies in? All right, now we got this triangular thing here. Here we go. All right, and now I have to do the delicate dance of connecting this. I would like to try to smoke something. I know that's a little ambitious, but I'd like to try. Rub mayo before you wrap them up. I bet that is good. Then you can do elotes afterwards. Oh, okay. I got it. I got it. All right. So this thing, it's got to go. All right. It's got to go. Wait a minute. Yeah. Oh, there we go. There Not doing. This isn't going well. I'm being proved to be a soy boy. My soyness is undeniable at this point. But in fairness to me, I am trying to do it and talk. I don't want to leave too much dead air, so I'm not as focused as I would normally be. We put through one. Oh, that's why. Okay. Oh, I get it now. I did it wrong. Yes, I'm trying to become a soy man and stop being a soy boy. I don't get the. It's supposed to go through the thing. Okay, there we go. Oh. Okay, there we go. Alright, now we're cooking. Alright, now we're good. Alright, see? A little trial and error. Look, I'm teasing this out. All right, I might cook something, but I don't think I have enough time. I might. I don't know. All I have that's available to cook right now are some Nathan's hot dogs. Is the thing. I forgot to take the steak out of the freezer, so I can't cook it today. That's the problem. All I got is some hot dogs. I don't know if that's enough. All right. But what am I gonna do? I'm here by myself right now. Am I gonna eat a bunch of hot dogs and then just we go one man Coney Island hot dog eating contest? I was gonna start with one steak, and I was gonna be like, bang, put a steak on the grill, eat it myself, like a guy in a PUA video, or like a red pill man going his own way. I own people with my carnivorous lifestyle. But I miscalculated. I forgot to unthaw the steak I have, so now I'm stuck. And I'm sorry, I just can't bring myself to do that. So I think it'll come. It'll happen. There will be grill streaming. Besides, think of it as sort of like the way that those dang Hollywood studios will draw things out at the end. You know how they had to make 2 Hunger Games movies out of one book. Getting as much grill content as I can out of here. I am on that grind. You guys saw the tweets. You guys saw all the political economy of Chapo takes that displayed our reactionary souls to the world. I gotta say, it is pretty funny having people have the exact same arguments that got resolved along the exact same axes when people basically just got bored and stopped talking about it. I mean, has anybody ever noticed that that's the only way these things ever end, is that people just get bored? Doesn't that make you think that maybe it doesn't, that all of the talking isn't really doing anything? But I gotta say, I wouldn't say that we ever encourage this, but the simple fact is, like, the charge that Chapos are grifters, or whatever that means, never really made sense, because it's not like we were saying, hey, give us money and we're going to elect somebody to a high office, or hey, give us money and we're going to like start a new some new paradigm for something. It was, hey, give us money and you can listen to an episode of us talking. And that was always the deal, and we explicitly said that was the deal, and we said from the first episode, like, the thing we were most worried about was giving people the idea that you can do politics through consumption of media. And we said, don't do that. But the thing is, we've talked enough about how, and I've talked a lot in these streams about how there is no such thing as political action outside of the internet for most people. They can't conceive of it. They don't have anything in their lives that feels even vaguely political. And so they're going to make that assumption, even if they're not even conscious of it. They can say, "Oh yeah, I know it's not real. I know that this isn't politics," but it is. It is, because what else is politics? It's not like there's a lot of practice in your daily day life that you can look at and say that was a political act. Most people are living their lives. They're trying to keep a foot ahead of, trying to either find a job if they can't, or keep their head above water. They're not really, and they wouldn't know what to do if they wanted to. And even a lot, and the ones who do want to find themselves alienated from everything, and so they seek the only community they can find at the click of a button, which is online, because in their lives it's too difficult. The questions are too hard. The fear of rejection and the fear of alienating people is too high, and also the return is so low. What are you going to do? Talk to everybody in your life about politics, and they all just stop talking to you? The internet is there. You're going to find it, and then going there is going to define your own conception of your political identity. And so, even though we said it's not politics to listen to the show, and even though I'm sure most people who listen to the show agree with that in principle, I think for all of us, and myself included, there's an element of self-deception there, just because there's no alternative, and that is why when like the Bernie campaign hove into view as like a real nationwide moment that could potentially have shifted the understanding of basic political reality by more and more working class people. It was worth doing, and our role related to the campaign was because we think this is a good thing. We want to tell people to do it, but it's not politics until they do it. There has to be that alchemy, that decision to get off the couch, and listening to podcasts can help you determine what that is by exposing you to things like, hey, here's this candidate, here's this campaign, here's this thing you could do, and then you can follow that up. That provides a context, and that provides you with motivation to get up, but the act itself is the real political act, the attempt to impress your will on the world. It's not being impressed on the world on the internet. We collectively impress the world on the internet, but our individual contributions are basically non-existent. All of our meaning comes from our actions, and so we benefited from that delusion, and we suffer from that delusion. So, but I will say, and you, of course, if people don't want to believe this, they won't. It was never an intentional. It was never an attempt to mislead. There was never an attempt where we were saying, these idiots don't think this is politics. We knew it wasn't politics. We never thought it was. We knew that what we were doing was creating a friendship simulator, basically, for this new group of, underemployed, millennial, mostly, at the time, people who were wildly alienated from the political world because of its failure to live up to their expectations of it, and who went online to find people who shared the same view. So, while I really don't think that any of those criticisms are right, because those people who believe them are at a fundamental level captured by this fantasy in a way that even pointing it out infuriates them. They need us to be political because they need podcasts to be political. They need posts to be political. They need that, or else their identity will be undermined. I mean, the person who is saying, why aren't you? I wish leftists posted harder about defending North Korea than they do about defending Chapo. And it's like, well, okay, what if they did? Why would that make you happy? What about that would make you happy and make the world better for you, even just individually? Because you can't be delusional enough to think it would mean that anything would change, that any of those regimes, oh, look, they're able to cooperate against the hegemon more effectively thanks to those posts. You don't really think that. What you think is, those posts about Chapo make me mad, and the posts about North Korea make me happy. I would like to see more happy posts, please. I would like to see more posts that validate me. That's what everyone wants, but that's just what you're looking for. You're looking for identity formation and validation. It's not political. I got to get a hammer and a screwdriver. I'll be right back. I'm back. Here we go. Now we got to put on these little doohickeys to keep the wheel on with the hammer. Comme ça. Nice. Beltway Garage. Yeah, the Beltway Garage has been closed for a bit. But who knows what the future will bring. There we go. We now have wheels. We got some wheels on this bad boy. Wheels on this guy. Oh no. Anyway, this is what it looks like. Well, now we're going to flip it over. There we go. The kettle. The kettle itself. 22-incher. The classic. Here will be feasts and delights of the senses and the soul. All right. Next. All right. So we put this plate guy in there. I'm having some difficulty with the yeah, I get that. Alright. Let me check a question here. I don't want to get people too antsy because I know you can't really see me when I'm getting in this, but I'm honestly kind of happy because they suck. What? Why is it bad? I'm sorry. Just trying to grill. Yeah, there's this hubcap thing. I gotta hook it out of the bottom here. I might have to get on the ground. It's a little awkward. Well, that's the thing, is I think they're kind of mad that I'm not grilling today, but like I said, the spirit moved me and it was a little too, and didn't have time to get my steaks thawed. And also, I wanna stretch this shit out. I might make a nice marinara sauce tonight, though. Might do that. I've kind of been feeling like I want to mwah. I mean, that is a good point. Actually, if I wanted to be up my ass here, and let's do it. Let's get up my own ass for a minute. The reason the reason it's good that I'm streaming building the grill before I even think of grilling on the stream is that you can't skip steps. It's one of the key things. That's why you end up on the internet all day thinking you're doing politics, because you look for a place that will be emotionally validating without stopping to realize how far you've abstracted yourself away from your actual day-to-day life. So you can't just eat the hot dog or the steak until you have built the grill, put in the dang coals, lit up the dang coals, heated up the dang coals. It's all necessary. And the act of doing it impregnates it all with more meaning. Building a grill makes you appreciate the grill more. What is happening to my brain? That's a good question. I've been asking myself that same thing. And I don't know. People have opinions, that's for sure. People got a lot of opinions. I don't really know yet. The jury's out, in my opinion. I guess that is my only opinion, is that the jury is out. Alright, I'm gonna do the pie plate later. It's not that important right now. I'm gonna put in the grills. And the big boy. Alright, now you got your classic setup here. Your classic all-American setup. Yeah, I want to do corn. I would like to do peppers. I've actually found that like those blistered peppers are really good, and they'd be really good on a grill. Definitely that. Potatoes, like I said. Well, somebody says don't do beer can chicken. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. I have some. The thing is, I have a bunch of steaks in my freezer I got to get through before I think of doing anything else. I want to get those bad boys cooked. I also have some pork shoulder that, like I said, my dream would be to smoke that one, but I know that's more ambitious. I'm going to need a little more time to be sure that I can pull that one off. And then, oh, I got to put the cover on here. That's what that's for. Oh yeah, they got to keep things branded. Very clever. But I also would love to do the Beyond sausages, because I've been eating more of those. Felix is basically kind of guilting me into it, because I don't really, at this point, even have, you can't even have much of a flavor objection, because those things are damn good. And I think they'd be good in a grill. So I'd also like to do some sausage. And their patties are good too. Oh man, lamb kebabs, that sounds fantastic. Oh Jesus, I'm gonna do it. How am I marinating the steaks? I think I'll probably do the marinate that bad boy. I don't know. Oh, it goes through both. Probably do it maybe overnight. A couple hours, I have no idea. I mean, they're really good, so I'm not too worried about them not tasting good. Ooh, lobsters. I did a grilled lobster tail. It was phenomenal. That's a really good idea. I mean, honestly, the fact that Hank Hill was a propane salesman, you could kind of look at it as an interesting case in ideological formation. You know, because Upton Sinclair had a famous quote where he said, "No man can understand something if his paycheck depends on him not understanding it." And so, if you're Hank Hill, and I don't know how he got into the propane game, but And if he didn't come at it from love, if he came at it out of necessity, over time he would convince himself that propane was better, even though in his heart, his fucking Texas heart, he knows it's not. He knows that it's all coals. So he's literally like lobotomizing himself to reduce the cognitive dissonance of alienating his labor on behalf of an inferior meat grilling method. He is a sham. He is unmanned, and all of his masculine virtue signaling is just a hollow, pathetic attempt to reclaim agency over a life that is essentially as a serf on the properties of Mr. Strickland. I mean, the main thing is that it's not. I don't have anywhere near the space back here for a fucking propane. I barely have enough for this. All right, now it's time to screw the handle guy on to the head guy over here. Grill. Grill. Yeah, and the funny thing is I know that those like Beyond Burgers and shit, they're probably just as deadly, but at least I'm not hurting other animals, just me. And I have it coming, so it's fine. Like you get through certain levels of enlightenment. Like there's one level of enlightenment where it's like, oh, my pleasure doesn't have to come at the expense of these animals. Then there's another level where, oh, I can get something that's similar, but it's still killing me. And then you get to the point where you say, it doesn't matter that it's killing me, at least it's not killing them. And then you get to the point where you realize, I don't actually have to eat this salty thing to enjoy my life. That I can find pleasure in all experiences if I apply myself to them with the right mindset. Alright, so I got this guy on here. I got a screw. Anybody got a screwgee? I gotta screw this guy on here. There's a little wing nut guy. I gotta find my little wing nut. No, I don't mean Ben Shapiro. Boom. Drop the mic. Mic has been dropped. No, I'll probably like move through the ranks of the animal kingdom just like Felix has, away from bigger, more expressively faced, more sympathetic animals. Like it'll be hard for me to ever really care about chickens. The way that chickens are exploited, of course, yes, but like the kind of the idea of a chicken getting killed in general. Never giving up my oysters though. I'm never giving up my little salty darlings. These guys in here with something. Did I not get that piece, or did I forget to bring it out? I can't find that screw. I can't do it. I hope I didn't lose it somewhere. Very anticlimactic. Huh. Yeah, I hope I didn't lose the screw. This is not this is once again not redounding to my benefit as a He-Man. Yes, yes, I am a Wisconsinite but love oysters, but I am a coastal Wisconsinite, remember. The call of open ocean is as deeply part of me as my being as anybody who grows up next to either of the great oceans of the world, because Lake Michigan and the Great Lakes are inland oceans in the sense of you stand before them and they have the enormity of the sea. You can't see across them. They consume. In fact, I might read from Moby Dick on this point. Oh yes, I will read from the man himself on the subject of our third coast. In describing a character known as Steel Kilt, he refers to him as a lake man. And in this chapter, Ishmael is talking to some Spaniards in Peru about the experiences of a ship where there was a mutiny. And one of the mutineer leader was named Steel Kilt, a lakeman from Buffalo. And they asked him what those words mean, and he says, "On the eastern shore of our Lake Eridon, but I crave your courtesy. May be you shall soon hear further of all that. Now, gentlemen, in square-sail brigs and three-masted ships, well nigh as large and stout as any that ever sailed out of your old Callao to far Manila, this lakeman, in the landlocked heart of our America, had yet been nurtured by all those agrarian freebooting impressions popularly connected with the open ocean. For in their inner-flowing aggregate, those grand freshwater seas of ours, Erie in Ontario, and Huron and Superior in Michigan, possess an ocean-like expansiveness, with many of the ocean's noblest traits, with many of its rimmed varieties of races and of climes. They contain round archipelagos of romantic isles, even as the Polynesian waters do, in large part are shored by two great contrasting nations, as the Atlantic is. They furnish long maritime approaches to our numerous territorial colonies from the east, dotted all around their banks, here and there, are frowned upon by batteries, and by the goat-like craggy guns of lofty Mackinac. They are heard the fleet thunderings of naval victories. At intervals they yield their beaches to wild barbarians, whose red-painted faces flash from out their peltry wigwams. For leagues and leagues are flanked by ancient and unentered forests, where the gaunt pine stands like serried lines of kings and Gothic genealogies. Those same woods harbor wild Afric beasts of prey and silken creatures whose exported furs give robes to Tartar emperors. They mirror the paved capitals of Buffalo and Cleveland, as well as Winnebago villages. They float alike the full-rigged merchant ship, the armed cruiser of the state, the steamer, and the beach canoe. They are swept by boreal and dismasting blasts, as direful as any that lash the salted wave. They know what shipwrecks are, for out of sight of land, however inland, they have drowned full of many a midnight ship with all its shrieking crew. Thus, gentlemen, though an inlander, Steel Kilt was wild ocean born, and wild ocean nurtured, as much as an audacious mariner as any. And for Randy, though in his infancy he may have laid him down on the lone Nantucket beach to noose at his maternal sea, though in after life he had long followed our austere Atlantic and your contemplative Pacific, yet was he quite as vengeful and full of social quarrel as the backwoods seaman, fresh from the latitudes of buckhorn-handled bowie knives? Yet was this Nantucketer a man with some good-hearted traits, and this lakeman a mariner, who, though a sort of devil indeed, might yet be inflexible firmness, only tempered by that common decency of human recognition which is the meanest slave's right. Thus treated, this Steel Kilt has long been retained harmless and docile. At all events, he had proved so far thus, but Radney had doomed and made mad, and Steel Kilt, but gentlemen, you shall hear. Edmund Fitzgerald, exactly. No, the Third Coast. I remember I did it. I tweeted something about coastal Wisconsin the other day, and people freaked out. It's a coast, and I honestly do feel like there is something cultural different about living by water. And obviously, it starts with the fact that people have to go by water because you need water to live and to get things from one place to another, absent mechanical power. But there's something else. There's a feedback loop. I mean, what's how it's weird. Like it's the only part of the non. It's really the only part of the country other than the coast that routinely voted Democratic, even though its demographics are pretty much the same as the rest of the seething mass of square state reactionaries. I'll take your word for it on Duluth. I've never been. I'm still trying to figure out what happened to those uh, nuts. Yeah, Joe Perry is great. I know he's from Buffalo, and the funny thing is, it's the same accent too. Rochester, Buffalo, those people have the flat nasal vowels of the upper Midwest, from Michigan across to coastal Wisconsin. And then you get past the coast and it turns into the Fargo accent, which is real and is associated with the inland squarehead Scandinavians who make up western Wisconsin and Minnesota. And that's the thing. I mean, obviously, these terms are all uh, arbitrary, but the Midwest, even though have a pretty strong opinion about what I think the definition of the Midwest is, I think a strong argument can be made that there are different Midwests, and that a state, a state like Indiana to me is less similar to Wisconsin than northern New York is. Like I said, and that is why Ohio is such a weird one. And honestly, it's why it's the most Midwestern state. Ohio is the Midwestern state, and it is because the northern tier is that it's on the water. It has even the same settler group. The Western Reserve in northern Ohio was settled by the same Congregationalist ex-Puritans from New England who settled Wisconsin and Michigan. And then the southern half was settled by butternut Southerners from Virginia and Tennessee and Kentucky. And that is the Midwest, because Indiana is much more butternut than Ohio is. Then you got Illinois, which is basically entirely butternut except for Chicago. But then, like, Wisconsin is not really butternut at all, and that's why I think it was reliably more Democratic, because these things have resonances that echo through history, or at least they had a contributing role anyway. So Ohio has everything, whereas not all the other Midwestern states have almost that perfect balance of the things that shape the Midwest. The first migration, like settler migration patterns, before subsequent, because obviously then you get the Germans. You get the Germans, and you get the German Triangle between St. Louis, Cincinnati, and Milwaukee. And but that's all laid on top of the first generations, who set the cultural firmament that then got built up upon. Butternuts were the name for settlers and recent emigres who had moved to the Northwest territories of Ohio and Illinois and Indiana from Virginia. Moved because everybody just kept moving kind of straight across once the Northwest Territory opened up to settlement after the Revolution, because we were mostly fighting for the right to keep expanding past the Appalachians, which the British had said no to because they didn't want to pay for it. So everybody, once they started moving, they moved basically straight west. So New Englanders settled the northern tier of Wisconsin, of the Midwest, and the Tidewater and border south, border Southerners did the lower tier of the Midwest. Because like you got a state like Wisconsin, which is almost entirely, which is pure New England, congregational. Then you got a state like Missouri, which is some people consider the Midwest, and in some definitions, I guess you could say it's arguable. But that's all butternut. But what they have in common is then that overlaying of German immigration from the mid 1800s. And that German immigration, by the way, is the only reason Missouri did not join the Confederacy, because once the secession started, the German citizens of St. Louis, essentially, which was the only major city of any size in the state, immediately mobilized militia forces that were able to drive the pro-Confederate political faction out of the cities, and they then allowed the Union to like march in. Those anyway, I could talk all day about the Midwest. The Germans hated the slave power because they saw it as they saw it as class domination. They saw it as rich dominating poor, and just because it was black people today, it would be white people if things were different. Which, as I've discussed on the show, at the very high levels of planter society, is what they thought. They thought, why are you having these dumb Irish immigrants running around your cities and paying them, pennies to live in tenements and work in your factories when you could just keep them in a humane conditions under control. And but like the overlay of race and the fact that so many people were directly or indirectly related to slavery as an institution in the South made that impossible to see. But the Germans showed up and they didn't have any of that. They didn't have any investment in slavery as an institution. They didn't have the ideological structures that had grown up around slavery. So they just saw it as exploitation, as another element of workers. Not just some of them thought of it as workers against capital, but a lot of them were thinking about the way that Prussia just marched back into the Rhineland and in Bavaria and snuffed out all the attempts to create a unified Germany. Instead, you had those Lutheran psychos in Prussia ruling Catholic Rhineland, and nobody's happy about that. They saw the same pattern. They were foes of princes. Yes, because and the Irish were the opposite, because the Irish were generally poorer and had a harder time assimilating into the United States, which means that they were lower on the labor pool, lower on the labor and social totem pole, and had more interest in maintaining a racial distinction to keep them on the right side of getting enslaved. Yeah, I'm talking about Carl Schurz. Although Schurz got shitty after the war, but of course the king of this is my boy August Willich. Somebody told me that they were writing an August Willich biography, which was a project a long time ago I wanted to do, but I was stymied by German and Fraktur. And then I started doing the podcast, and I was like, I'll just talk about him all the time. That's way less work. But if he does it, I hope it comes out. I would love to read it. It's funny. I've tried learning, dude. I did German my entire collegiate life. I can't. I mean, maybe now would be different. Maybe I would take a different approach to it. But I think my elasticity is fucked. I just don't have a brain for it. It's similar with math. I think that there's shit in my brain where they just got some bad wiring in some places or another related to symbolic orders and like abstraction and stuff. Because I could do very good abstract reasoning, but not if it's outside of the terms of English language. If it's not English language, my understanding of what the symbols mean just kind of goes away, and I can't hold them in my head long enough to move them around. And that's true of math and foreign languages. I really don't know why it is. I mean, part of it is I was lazy, but it also was very, very difficult. It seemed harder for me than others. I don't know. Oh man, the Garibaldi and the Civil War thing is fun. I mean, it's not as real as people like to think it is. Is the deal? It's not like Garibaldi was almost a Union general. Uh, what happened is somebody offered on behalf of the America, but not authorized by Lincoln. Is the thing offered him a generalship, and he said, "I'll do it if you say to end slavery." And then Lincoln said no, and honestly, it was probably more of just a way to get out of a thing that he didn't want to do anyway. I mean, he had never authorized it in the first place. But the thing is that the war that Garibaldi would have fought is a war that the United States couldn't have authorized in 1861 because it would have been a revolutionary war, and the American position from Lincoln to everyone signing up to fight to everyone on the home front for the most part, except for radicals, was was not revolutionary at all because Garibaldi would have done the things he would have taken the contraband strategy of Fremont and Butler and turned it into a like a kind of I mean he was sort of a proto Mao that side. He would have turned it into an army like he would have like I talked about when the idea of Toussaint rolling through the underbelly of the deep south out of French Louisiana, just collecting troops as he moved. Uh, Obviously, that has logistical problems, but it also has benefits. But it would have required uh, making ending slavery the central goal of the war from day one, and trusting arming and authorizing the idea of arming and training ex-slaves immediately. Yeah, it's one of those deals where the conditions, the actual material conditions, would not have allowed it. But it is a cool idea to think about. Certainly would have imagined a different reconstruction. Felix, I don't think is vegan yet, but he's pretty close. My worry though is that he basically just eats replacement meat instead of meat, and like you guys have said, that stuff has got a lot of sodium. Woodworking sounds really good. I've always thought that would be fun, but I'm very physically disinclined in a way that I think could, especially I don't want to make too much noise around here too. What would I consider my best practical skill? Ooh, that's a toughie. I'm a pretty good driver, I guess. I am a pretty good driver. Some disagree, but I know I'm correct. I have tried pottery. I think I would have to go into it into a with a very open mind, and I think I could do that now. I've been trying to draw a little more as the thing because I used to draw a lot as a kid before I got horny, basically. Uh, and I used to draw Civil War battle scenes, big ones, like 3 or 4 pieces of paper, like a cyclorama at Gettysburg. I've looked at them as an adult. They're not terrible. I can't draw hands though. Like no one can draw fucking hands. If I could be a correspondent for any war, what would it be? Well, it's got to be the Spanish Civil, right? Come on, Madrid, dodging the bombings with Hemingway and Gellhorn and fucking John Dos Paso and shit. Fucking Orwell being a prick. Ah, yes, the Hundred Years' War. That is a good one. Mostly because it's very few battles. You know, you got your Agincourt and Poitiers and shit, but it's mostly sieges and then just going out and burning down a village, just doing Gregor Clegane in the Trident shit, chevauchés. Hey, we're gonna do some war. What is that? We're just gonna stab some peasants and burn a bunch of wheat. And then you have, I think, one of the most interesting things about the Hundred Years' War, the Jacquerie, where peasants were like, "You keep getting your ass kicked, and we keep getting stabbed to death by these fucking British assholes. What are you doing? Like, what is this? What is this whole aristocracy thing doing? You guys are supposed to be badasses. You know, like knightly authority comes from military prowess. Like that's who the Second Estate is." And so they had a huge peasant revolt, massacred the shit out of a bunch of fat lords for getting them killed, and then they just got their asses kicked. Now, no respect for Henry VIII. He was a button masher, or I'm sorry, Henry V. Henry V was a fucking button masher. He hit Welsh longbowmen over and over again, like a. I wouldn't respect him as a. It's like he's like the guy who plays Street Fighter and just does E Honda and just does the hand the whole time. I'm talking about me because I am a bad video game player and a button masher. So yeah, if you're as good at war as I am at video games, you get no respect from me. I love Mothman. In fact, I want to do something about Mothman. Specifically, the book, The Mothman Prophecies, which is so good and weird. And it still amazes me the movie that they made out of that piece of shit. Amazes me the terrible movie. John Keel is like an all-time weirdo. Like an American like classic. And they had Richard Gere play him as just this sleepwalking douche. Just like all the different theories, all the different, like, the thing about Mothman is it's not just Mothman. The Mothman stuff was happening at the same time as an insane bunch of weird ass alien stuff, and not just Close Encounters, of the second kind. Like people having long conversations with aliens, people going out into space and coming back, or at least claiming to have, people getting visited by men in black. It's like it's a prism of all of that jet age paranoia in a small West Virginia town, which then had a fucking giant bridge collapse. Yes, I would like to do some more about Mothman. The alternative dimension theory of aliens, that's the only theory that makes sense. I highly doubt that any civilization would get to a level of advancement allowing for actual interstellar travel through space by itself. But it's possible to imagine one getting to a point where it could, like, interpose at its own will direction through the quantum space and then into another area. because obviously, multiverse, yes, it's infinite, it's exploding, it's coming out of every. There's multi. It is Rick and Morty annoyingly is basically right. No time travel, just dimensional travel. That is what actually would be. But then the thing is, that could technically be time. Or I'm sorry, they have. I'm talking about space travel. Both of them. But either space travel or time travel would be essentially dimensional travel, not actually going through time from one timeline to another, or space from one place to another. I don't think either one of those are possible through any kind of technological advancement. But going through either, because if I go through the quantum space and find another parallel dimension that started a little later or a little earlier, then you're at a different point in time. And if it's similar to my world in almost every other respect, it's, for all intents and purposes, I'm going back in time. But what this means, and this is very important, is that time travel cannot work like it does in Back to the Future or Looper or anything where if you do something to yourself in the future after you come back, it does something to you, like where the guy's arm gets cut off and then his kid version arm gets cut off and his arm gets cut off, or when they fade out, like in Back to the Future. Nope. Every time you go back, you are creating a new reality there, but the one you came from is the same. Nothing has changed. You cannot change the future by going back in the past. Not for the people who experience it. Only for different people in a different dimension. So that resolves the whole grandfather paradox thing. You create a new world where that person didn't exist. You go there, you're not there, and you can hang out there. You go back to where you were. So if they ever develop time travel, it can just be really for entertainment purposes only. You can't change anything. You don't even need time cop because it's impossible. It might fuck up other dimensions, but the one you're in, nothing will have changed. The clapping should be beginning shortly. Actually, it hasn't happened yet. Yeah, exactly. You're not traveling through time. You're going to a different dimension that happens on a different time scale, but is otherwise the same. So it has the same people, and this is the same historical development of humanity down to the individual level. I hear it a little bit. It's quiet. This is the quietest it's been that I've noticed. I think people are sick of it. You know what it is? I think people are sick of it here. This not clapping anymore is sort of the lib version of wanting to go to Lake of the Ozarks or Red Lobster or something. It signals that even they are running out of that sense of self-worth that comes from denying themselves by staying in. All time is simultaneous, correct? Yes. We're not going to be able to ignore the second wave, but I think we're going to try to be normal through it, and that's going to be very weird because I really don't think they're going to do another shelter in place. I don't think they can muster the will for one. But people are still not going to go out as much because they're still going to be afraid of getting it. So that's a weird limbo, and I don't know how long it can last, how durable it is. How durable. Yeah, everyone's rolling. I think the antibody test might help if that becomes more widely available. And they're ramping up actual testing for this thing itself. So who knows? I don't know. That might change things. Is there this name? Everybody, is there some sort of meme making fun, pretending that I'm a weeb? Is this happening? People keep making weeb references here, and I don't know. And I'm like, I'm not one of you. But no, I'm actually. My guess is that's. I bet that. Honestly, I think most of that fucking UFO stuff is bullshit. The fact that it's part of this like this it's wrapped up in a TV show. I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. There will be no Dem convention in July, so I'm not going because it does not going to exist because it is not going to be in the interest of the party. The Democratic Party's interests are not served by having a convention because it will look like things are normal, and their whole deal is going to be Mr. Not Normal made everything not normal. We have to stay home. Can't have a convention. Not to mention the fact that they have an actual split in the party a little bit, and they don't want to exacerbate it. Trump, on the other hand, has to have one because if even the Republicans are staying home, that undermines the entire thing that he's been saying for the past 4 months. But at the same time, how much are these rich old people willing to just to risk their lives? Because these people are a little, they're I think a little less Kool-Aid drinky. But I don't know. I think maybe that generation is gone. Maybe they're all cool. They were all Kool-Aid all the time, and they are all gonna just run into the maw of death. And if they do that, I will be there. I will go to the Charlotte convention if it happens, for sure. No, like how do you beat that? How do you not go to like the plague convention? How do you not go to the orange rapist game show man, the Cheeto himself presiding over a baying arena filled with carbuncular jackals all coughing in each other's faces in some sort of weird death ritual while outside the economy is in ruins and they're stacking bodies in fucking refrigerated trucks. That is Bosch and not the show on Amazon. And I gotta see it. Eat Your Heart 1968. Suck me. I'm probably not going to die. I don't know. I mean, if I've had it by then, maybe I'll do it. If I haven't had it by then, maybe I won't. But I don't know. I'm kind of getting to the point where I kind of think everyone's going to get it. Oh, I will definitely be well tinctured to go to that. Rest assured. Biden might refuse to... See, that's the thing, is that Biden might refuse to debate Trump. Especially if he's up in the polls. Now that would be very funny for a Democrat to do that because that's the kind of shit that they fetishize and love. So it would be very hard to justify it in a way that didn't just reveal, oh, his brain doesn't work and he doesn't want to talk. But if it's necessary, they'll figure out a way. They always do. They always buckle. But the main reason it won't happen, whether one of them is going to say no or there's going to be some third wave a second wave thing that just knocks the whole thing off the front pages and we just have military rule. One way or another, we're not lucky enough to have that debate. A world where Trump and Biden are the nominees is not a world where you get to watch them debate. All right, guys, I'm sorry. This is mostly done. The only thing I haven't done is screwed the handle on, but that'll take 2 minutes when I get this bolt, and if I can't, I'll go buy one. So that's step one. The grill is basically ready. It will be fully prepared, fully functional. It'll be a fully armed and operational Death Star in time, sometime I think next week. I do have a chimney. Thank you for whoever first suggested the chimney. I made sure to get one. I'm all set, and I'm gonna start grilling. I'm hoping to do a test steak next week. All right. Talk to you guys. Bye bye.